Order, order. Hello and welcome to Reporters Without Orders, a podcast where we talk about what made news, what didn't, and some things that absolutely shouldn't have. I'm your host, Tanishka Sodhi, and joining me in the studio today are Saurav Das and Shwet Pandey. Hi guys, thank you for being here. It's both of your RW debut. How do you feel?
Great. Thank you for inviting me.
Are you excited?
Well, it's incredible.
Okay.
But I'm also incredibly nervous. So let's keep it at that. Yeah.
Don't be. It's all good. We'll have fun. Saurav is an independent journalist who did a report this week for Decode on Boom about how a court case can potentially change the way the government blocks information on censorship. This story, incidentally, has also come the same week that Twitter's ex-CEO, Jock Dorsey, revealed how the Indian government had put pressure on Twitter over tweets by journalists critical of the government, especially during the farmers' protest. And Shwet is our in-house social media person who wrote this week about the misappropriation of Sushant Singh Rajput. This week marked the third death anniversary of Sushant, who died by suicide in June 2020, which kickstarted a political and media ruckus. So we will speak about both their stories in detail. Let's start with Saurav's story, which goes into how Twitter has increasingly acceded to government requests for censorship and surveillance, especially after Elon Musk took over. The company's own data showed that it did not decline a single such request between October 2022 and April 2023, unlike before Musk's time. The Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, very importantly, does not inform any users of its blocking decision. Saurav, I want to ask by asking a very basic question. Why? Why does the government not inform people about the tweets that they are blocking? What is the rationale behind this, and under what act do they get the leeway to do so?
Right. It's a mystery because the government never tells people why it wants to deny information at all. Currently, there are two laws that the government uses to deny any information about its censorship action.
So this is not just tweets. This applies to any sort of censorship.
Yes, this applies to your website, any URL across social media platforms, actually anything on the internet.
Right.
So if the government goes ahead and censors any website, blocks it from accessing, so the government uses two laws. One is the rules that it has made under the Information Technology Act 2000. It's called the IT Blocking Rules. It's a very long name, but in short, it's called the IT Blocking Rules 2009. So under this rule, there's rule number 16, which requires government to maintain strict confidentiality about its actions.
Okay.
So if the government receives any request from a nodal officer of any department in order to block some content online, whatever action it takes thereof, including the identity of the nodal officer, etc., all that needs to be kept strictly confidential, of course, for good reasons, because, it may harm the person who's requesting.
Right.
There may be physical harm, etc. But can the government use that rule to deny any information even to an affected user? I don't think that should be the case. And experts that I spoke to were also, they've challenged this in court, but that is one rule that they use to deny any information about their action. And if one goes through the Right to Information Act, they say that it's going to harm India's integrity, sovereignty, public order, and
the usual.
The security argument to deny any information. So, of course, RTI Act allows any such information to be withheld from anybody who's requesting so. So they use that for, I don't know if it's legal, illegal, whatever, but they use that to deny information.
Right. Yeah. And also, do they also use the emergency powers of the new IT rules of 2021?
The IT blocking rules of 2009 also have emergency powers given to the government.
Right.
So, there's a whole process that the government has to follow, IT ministry has to follow before passing a censor order. But if there's an emergency case, like say what happened with what was that guy's name I'm forgetting from Punjab?
The journalist?
No, not the journalist. the activist, not activist, but the separatist. Yeah. Amritpal, exactly. So Amritpal's case was,
Right,
there's a huge emergency,
Yeah.
right? So government blocked many of the accounts and tweets, etc. So they must have used their emergency powers.
Right.
So they are entitled to do that. But again, when they do that, the IT rules require you to, within 48 hours, convene a committee. They are supposed to apply their mind. They have to send notice to the affected user. And that person has to get the chance to, give their reply.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean.
Or some
How do they
explanation.
not just tell people that, hey, we're doing this? A lot of cases there are no emails sent. There is no communication about this happening. You
Yes,
just have to
it's blatant
find out.
actually,
Yeah.
and they are getting away with it.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, in India, people do not have access to justice for very important matters, right? So who's going to go to court for one or two tweets of their getting censored?
Correct.
So it has not formed a legal precedent
Yeah.
yet. One case that I've written about if it goes in favor of the petitioner, it might change the
Right.
censorship landscape in India.
So a couple of tweets that you had put out last year, recently also, you realized recently that they were also taken down by Twitter.
Yes.
And you did not receive, again, any sort of notification about the same. Can
Yeah.
you tell us a little about it and whether you are planning on doing anything? Or is this story the action that you have taken? Is this what prompted you to write the story?
Right. I've been looking at censorship for a while now,
Okay.
because I do a lot of these RTI requests, etc.
Right.
So I've been looking at that, but this case that happened with me, I posted something about Amit Shah, giving a statement on the
Last year.
judiciary. Yeah, this was last year. This was last year.
Okay.
I don't know the exact month and date, but this was last year. And Amit Shah had said that we are keeping a close watch on developments in the judiciary. So it was kind of a threat.
Yeah.
So I just quoted him and I gave the source of the quote, which was a newspaper report from Times of India, I
Right.
believe. So perfectly innocuous, no issue with the tweets, but they got withheld globally.
Oh, this was globally?
Yeah, this was globally. And, because apparently Twitter had sent me some communication. The interesting part is because the government does not inform you of their action, it is up to the social media platforms to inform you.
Right.
Twitter does it, but say if you have a website
Yeah.
you're running and it's blocked, unless you check it or somebody from your circle tells you that they can't access it, you won't be able to know.
Right.
Because there's no intermediary in between who will inform you.
Yeah.
Twitter does inform you. So Twitter had apparently sent me an email back in February this
Okay.
year informing me of this action.
So
But
they
I did not
withheld-
read it.
Okay.
Yeah,
But they
because
withheld the tweets in Feb,
yes, in
months
fact.
after it
Yeah,
happened.
months after.
So does that probably mean the request was also sent months after from the
no,
government?
so what actually happened was, my suspect was the IT ministry, because IT ministry is now crazy going after every other tweet that they see
Yeah.
on the internet, anything critical of the regime. So my suspect was the IT ministry, and I tweeted about it, etc. But then later on, somebody informed me that it was a Punjab and Haryana High Court case where the court had passed an order to block my tweets. And I was not made a party to that case. It was a contempt case filed against two other people. And I was embroiled. I didn't even know that my speech is getting censored. So again, there's a lack of any procedure when it comes to courts.
Yeah.
At least with the government, there is, this IT rules which they don't follow, but still there's a framework in
Something
place.
on paper, yeah.
Yeah, but courts, you can't do anything about it. So it was a high court case, and now probably I'm going to challenge that on principle, because I mean, those two tweets are fine, but it has to set some precedent.
Exactly.
Because I don't know if the courts can really go ahead and ask any social media platform to withhold, block tweets globally. Because what may offend people here, my speech, may not offend people in the UK or the US.
Yeah.
So how can Indian courts restrict speech and access to information for a person sitting in the US.
Yeah, that is very surprising because usually it is for the specific country like India.
Yeah,
and we also have ways of finding
exactly
using VPN, going from another country and then seeing the tweet.
Plus, it's very difficult to go before a judge and say that you do not have the powers to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because then it may backfire also. But that is something we have to try.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Shwet, I also want to ask you about your story. And while the main parts of your story have been about the various ways that SSR and his death were misappropriated, you have weaved in Sushant's movies that he did when he was alive and what they stood for. And you've tied these stories to the misappropriation that was eventually done. What I'd like to start with is, in what ways did his death turn into a political proxy war? This is something you have written. Can you tell us a little about it?
Well, so how it began was basically, as I start in the piece as well. It was a random afternoon in the month of June, and we just see these posts flooding across the internet, and what really caught my attention was the way in which TV news. I mean, of course, it's been reported on countless of times and rightfully called out by the right section, the left sections.
Us, we have written a lot about it.
So the political proxy war part, was the Bihar elections that was due, right? So it's his home state, and so 5%. So this was reported by The Wire, or at least published in The Wire. 5% of the Bihar vote bank is the Rajput community. So it was like a very effective ploy to just politicize his death for their own
But in
agenda.
what way was it politicized? Is it the statements that came out regarding his death? Is it the sort of media frenzy that became... Are there other tangible ways that we can say that this is how it was politicized?
Well, Nitish Kumar... not of the BJP, but the JDU. He was quick to just bring out SSR's name, saying, let's campaign in his name because it's going to help.
Right.
But he was interestingly beaten by the BJP, as in the BJP got the first mover's advantage, because from what I recall, it was a JDU virtual rally because this was 2020, COVID. So it was a virtual rally where Nitish Kumar just says this. But before that could happen, the BJP capitalized on it, saying, they just put out Sushant's posters out there.
And said that they'll get justice?
Saying we'll get justice.
Right.
We don't know what happened.
Yeah, I mean, for a long time, I think even now, a lot of people do not believe that this was suicide, you know. The conversations around mental health completely backfired. It took a long time for a lot of people, especially the media, to accept that, hey, this could be a suicide. So
that also has a lot to say about the way... or the sheer lack of awareness of mental health issues in general, because I think the running to, and this was like a very disturbing headline, which you had reported on as well, where they talk about, you're Sushant, apni movie dekh lete pehle before doing this.
Yeah, that was really disturbing.
Yeah, so, and the movie in references to Chore, where he talks about, which deals with suicide and mental health. But yeah, it's just so there we have so you have the JDU and you have the BJP both just using Sushant's name, and this was further fueled by the media frenzy surrounding it.
They were definitely connected.
And what struck me as the most interesting and what's most tragicomic is the fact that a lot of the huge section of the media that was advocating for hashtag justice for SSR and hashtag Riya Chakraborty is whatever, all the vilest of things that they said that they said in her name. It just essentially boils down to the fact that had Sushant been alive, a lot of his movies and a lot of what he had stood for outside of the movies as well was completely antithetical to what to what mainstream media.
Yeah, what happened in the aftermath of his death?
Yeah.
I mean, we all let him down, the media, the political parties, everyone. And we will speak in detail about Shwet's story and about Saurav's story in the podcast. But this is all that we have for the video segment. To catch the full podcast, head on to newslaundry.com.
The subscription model is something that keeps Newslaundry afloat, but we need hundreds of thousands of people to completely transform the news ecosystem. So you pay for news, so it serves you. So click on the link with this video, subscribe to Newslaundry and pay to keep news free. और गर्व से कहो, मेरे खर्च पर आजाद है खबरें.